sensitivity and spectacle.
It is a reciprocal visit, a return of the courtesy afforded the Queen in Ireland in 2011, and yet it is so much more than that. For 800 years, Britain and Ireland shared a checkered history. With an 800-metre carriage ride through Windsor to the castle, the Queen and the President sought to show that the old animosity had been consigned to the past.
Oh, yay! Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, will welcome Mr. and Mrs. Higgins as, for the first time in our history...
From early, crowds gathered to see the spectacle and welcome the President.
Queen done well last time going over there. The Irish people welcomed her, so now we're just returning her, welcome the Irish.
We've never had the Irish President here, have we? So it's something for the books.
I think it's really important. I think it's one of the most important ones that we've had here in Windsor. And I'm local, so I like to come to these events.
President Higgins was welcomed into the heart of the castle. Formal duties followed. A review of the Guard of Honour, and later, after a private lunch, a chance to view items from the royal collection with an Irish significance. The visit is meant to demonstrate the depth of the links between the two countries and the vastly improved relationship they have built in recent years. At Westminster Cathedral, there was a reminder of the days when the bullet and the bomb were part of Anglo-Irish relations. President Higgins paused in tribute at a memorial plaque for Lord Mountbatten, the Queen's cousin, murdered by the IRA in County Sligo in 1979. Also in the cathedral, a wreath laying at the grave of the unknown warrior, a recognition of the role of Irish soldiers who died in the service of the British Army in the Great War. And then it was on to the Palace of Westminster for an address to members of both the Commons and the Lords.
We have a fresh canvas on which to sketch our shared hopes and to advance our overlapping ambitions. What we now enjoy between Ireland and Britain is a friendly, cooperative partnership based on mutual respect, reciprocal benefit, and deep and indelible personal links that bind us together in cultural and social terms.
In an hour and a half's time, the focus will switch back here to Windsor Castle. 160 specially invited guests will attend a state banquet at which both the President and the Queen will speak. Their comments are expected to reflect the theme of this visit, one of mutual respect. Conor McCauley, BBC Newsline, at Windsor Castle.
Yes, after Westminster Abbey and the Houses of Parliament, back here to Windsor. For tonight's Newsnight programme, the Deputy First Minister Martin McGuinness was asked by Jeremy Paxman at tonight's state banquet here at Windsor Castle, when there's a loyal toast, will he stand up and toast the Queen?
I will absolutely observe all of the protocols and civilities that are conducted in the course of that event to honour the President of Ireland.
The President of Ireland?
Yeah, well, the dinner is basically in honour of the state.
But you wouldn't toast the Queen?
Well, if there's a toast to the Queen, I will observe all of the protocols and civilities.
And you can see more of that interview on Newsnight on BBC Two at 10:30 tonight. This visit will connect with the regal, the artistic and the working life of Britain. Today it was very much about the political. Stephen Walker, our political reporter, is at Westminster, where the President addressed both Houses of Parliament. Stephen, how do you think the speech went? What stand out in your view?
Well, Donna, I was struck by the large number of historical references. The whole speech was littered with historical references. He talked about the history of democracy. He talked about the history of the House of Commons. He mentioned the Magna Carta. He talked about Countess Markievicz. He talked about nationalist MPs. He talked even about Daniel O'Connell. And then he fast forwarded to the Good Friday Agreement of the 1990s and talked about how these historical events had affected British-Irish relations and how they had affected the history of Britain and Ireland.
Yes, and that Anglo-Irish relationship was the recurring theme.
It was the recurring theme throughout the entire speech. He talked about it in a personal point of view. He also talked about how his siblings had settled in Britain. He talked about the bad old days when the relationship wasn't good, and then he talked about how the relationship, was much better in recent years, talked about this warm friendship, and then he used this rather lyrical phrase where he talked about sketching this fresh canvas. So very much the whole relationship with Britain and Ireland was a recurring theme of the speech.
And how was the address received?
It was very well received. I mean, if you look at the Royal Gallery, it was standing room only. The great and the good were there. The Prime Minister, David Cameron, was there. The Leader of the Opposition, Ed Miliband, was there. There were lots of local MPs there as well. So it was standing room only. He was very well received. There was a good introduction from John Bercow. And right at the end, President Higgins was given a standing ovation.
Stephen Walker at Westminster, thank you. That's all from Windsor for the moment. Join me later when we look at more detail at the importance of this state visit. But for now, back to Belfast and to Tara.
Thanks.